Hey, everybody out there. Welcome to another episode of We Are the Review Crew. And look around. Look at this crew today. What a motley crew we got today. Not the motley crew, thank God, but a motley crew. Looking around, I see Pete. What the hell are you doing here?
I just decided to infiltrate this episode today. I couldn't stay away. I've stayed away for most of the year, but
Right.
figured
It's
so.
either that or we're short on people.
Yeah, that could be.
See that too. Rick Labonte, welcome back to the review crew.
Nice to be back.
And we got a newcomer. We got a newcomer to the crew, Roy Avon from the
That's
Proc
right.
Report, which is like an online magazine type thing and a YouTube channel. So you're got the two things working. You're just not a lazy guy putting a camera in front of your face and doing a 5 minute video. No, you got the website, you got all kinds of things.
It's a whole bunch of stuff. We don't do 20 videos a day like you guys, but we try and put out some content. But I'm honored to be on an episode with Pete, especially on this one. This is good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Cool, no problem. Well, as everyone out there probably knows, everybody's got like two albums they want to review, and they came out this year, within, I don't know. And if they go back to January, I'm not going to hate on it. So we're gonna go around the way I see it, and everyone's gonna review the first album. And Pete, tell the people what you got on the first one.
All right, so this is one I was going to do a separate Wednesday episode of, but I figured this would be kind of good to talk about here. This is on a pretty popular heavy metal label. It's AFM Records, and it's the brand new one from Sirius Black. So this is a international metal band. I guess you can call them a power metal band. They're kind of hard rock. They're kind of melodic hard rock. They're a little proggy in spots. They've been around for a number of years. This is their seventh album. They got members from like all over creation, and they've had lots of people come and go from this band. But they got like German members, Austrian members, Czech, American, Serbian, blah blah blah. And let me show it up before. I'm going to do what I normally do on Wednesdays, guys. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to show you the digipack. Some pretty cool artwork. I mean, the AFM label, kind of like Inside Out as well. They do great jobs with these digipacks and whatnot. So you got that, and then the booklet is in here somewhere. Here we go. Oh, and the album is called Rise of Akhenaton or something like that. Some kind of weird
Okay.
ass name, right? So you got lyrics, all sorts of stuff, and I believe there's a live shot of the band, which is pretty cool. So I have
Looked
heard this
like
band
Maiden there for a second,
a
live.
little bit, right? A little bit. So for those of you who maybe have heard of this band, probably one of the reasons that they were getting some notoriety for a while is because their former lead singer was this guy named Urban Breed, who also sang for Tad Morose, and he's sang for lots of other bands. He's kind of like a big name in the on the power metal side of things. But in the band today is Nikola Midgic on vocals. He's their singer, really good singer. Mario Lochert on bass, Dominic Sebastian on guitar, Morris Mayer on guitars and keyboards, and Bob Katsianis on guitars. Bob Katsianis has played with Gus G and Firewind and done all sorts of stuff. So you got guys in this band who have, done things in other bands, and they've had lots of pretty notable guys on the power metal scene come and go. So it's a really good sounding album. You got 11 tracks on here. Again, it's this mix of kind of like European power metal, traditional metal, melodic metal, some prog metal, some straight up just hard rock. The songs that I would be on the lookout for are We Are the Storm is really good. United is a really good track. There's a song called Metalize, which kicks ass, got great guitar riffs. The vocals are excellent on the whole album. And one really cool thing about this, like sometimes like when I get these new CDs for review, I tend to like not look at the track listing and put it in for the first time just so I can kind of hear it through. And like towards the end of this, I'm listening. I'm like, wait a second, I kind of know that song. And then the chorus came in. I'm like, oh, I definitely know that song. They do a cover, a heavy metal cover of Toto's I Will Remember,
Oh
which
wow.
for any of you who know Toto, that's a really
Mm.
kind of ballad song for Toto. And here they do it, and they do it in kind of like almost power metal melodic rock style. And it's really, really good. And it just sounds excellent. It's kind of cool to hear that song become like almost like a power metal power ballad, which is pretty neat. So yeah, We Are the Storm. Open Your Eyes is a great opening track. We Are the Storm, Silent Angel, the rest of it's Take Your Life, Shields of Glory, When I'm Gone, United, Rise of Akhenaton, which is the title track. Virtual Reality is really cool too. The back end of the album is really, really strong. Virtual Reality, I will remember the cover, and then Metalize. So I think it's like just under an hour long. Really good stuff. Actually, I think it's less than 50 minutes. So great artwork. And again, I've heard a few of their albums. They're all really, really solid. If you just like good melodic power metal that's not too far into the cheese side of it, has some proggy moments, but just good melodic, memorable songs, good guitars, great vocals, memorable songs. You can't go wrong here. I would give this an easy 4 out of 5 star. So,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Nice.
I'm not familiar with them at all. I have to check it out, I guess.
They've been around for a while. They got like 7 albums, so they've been just pumping stuff out every couple of years. Another one comes out, and then they're always pretty solid. So good band.
Not like Haunt though. They fart them out every 6 months.
Oh yeah, Haunt is just ridiculous. You can't keep track of those guys.
All right, Rick, what you got?
Okay, well, the two that I'm going to show today, it just demonstrates a lot of things that I've heard everyone I've talked about in this panel. When you hear some people have some grievance and saying, they don't make the music like they did back in the day, and those days are over. These next two albums are an example of going in a time machine and get a snapshot of that genre of that particular time. In most cases, especially the second pick. But I'm going to go alphabetical. I kind of decide how I'm going to pick it. They both came out the same year. So I'm going to pick this on a prog band, and it's an American band, and it's called Emerald City Council. Let's see if I get it without the glare. And it's called Motion Carries, just like in a meeting when everything is approved on. I guess they carried their emotion that they liked the final production, because it took a couple of years, I guess. I learned that from London and US and in between. But there's some notable players on here because of the talent that not too far from the, how they say, the apple not far from the tree, because these some family ties on here. Noah Huntgate from David Huntgate from Toto, he played the drums. Brent Bristow, he's the kind of the brain behind all this. But you also got the vocalist from Kansas, the nephew from Kansas, Kerry Livgren, Jake. And he's got a good voice and really nice discovery. This is their first album, so they're making their mark, right, for the first time. And then there's Seth Hankinson and Jeremy Nickel. And they got a couple of actors on here and special guests that comes in a couple of key songs. But ultimately, this is a prog album that reminds me of Sparkbeard, reminds me of Transatlantic in some degree, and of course, Kansas is in their DNA. And I would also say, because you mentioned Toto, I also hear some Toto about maybe the 7th album of Toto, that kind of vibe in their music. And just like a prog record, they got the songs that welcome you in, like you're going into an adventure, and it closed that way. There is 9 songs, but just like every proper prog band, you gotta have an epic, and they do. Number 6, 20-minute tune, and it seems like in every epic, you have to put all your greatest work in it to keep everybody attention, and they've done just that. But the whole album opens up with a little dialogue, and before you know it, you're in. And I think the star of this band, because, like I mentioned, I try to avoid mentioning influences, but that's how we help people understand the arena. But this is original music. Because I said Kansas and Sparkbeard, they're not cloning anybody, but they definitely have that same style in a way that is positive, kind of easy listening prog. It's not manic or melancholy or dark or depression like some modern prog can be. They give the salute of the prog music that we like in the late 70s and early 80s that kind of lifts you up, like Yes would do, and like Kansas do. It's pretty positive music. I think that any real true fan knows that they try to look at the positive things in life, and I think that happened. Or recognize the seriousness. Like the song, the epic I wanted to talk about is Platform for Evolution. That's basically about social media. So as much as this is a blast of the past, kind of giving you the prog that you want to hear, this is a very modern album. I'm very modern in that sense. But there's a lot of great songs. I almost could list every one, but I'm just going to handle a couple of tracks. If anybody want to just check out Noise Talking, Moto Game, ice thinning, that sounds so much like Kansas. So if you want to hear a little bit of that example, but I just don't want to be misunderstanding everybody or misleading anybody because this is an original music. It's really nice. I think the star of the band, though, because everybody playing amazingly, is just that for this band to stand out like other bands, well, it's not the violin like you get in Kansas. It's not the keyboarding like in a dominant player. It's actually the saxophone player. He's he plays keys and he plays nice sax and it's kind of nice texture that you hear in all those great Supertramp albums and stuff like that, but done it in a prog fashion. It's a lead instrument and it's part of the dynamic that a lot of people rely on keyboard to give you that sound. They're doing it with the actual horn instrument. So I just want to say I like it a lot. I would give it a 4 out of 5, maybe even 4.5 because it's really good. I like it from start to finish, and 1 hour go by really fast because the music is that interesting. They don't repeat themselves, but it's definitely a cohesive package. It sounds like an album, but every song has its own merit, and I think it's really good. Check it out.
Hey, well, Rick, hold that the CD cover closer to the camera because I mean the CD is just gorgeous looking. So
Yeah, it is. And
Emerald,
it's
yeah.
a cool idea with the color in the back and black and white like that. But other than that, it's really wild. It's, the land of Oz, maybe, the Emerald City
Mhm.
Council. So it's kind of
That's sort of the idea, I think.
creative.
We covered that on our site. I've heard that one. It's actually excellent. Like you said, it's really good. Definitely along the lines of that, like you said, Kansas, Flower King, Spock's Beard, that kind of vibe.
Yes.
And Jake, I've known from other stuff that he's done. He's a tremendous singer. Like he's a really good voice.
Well, this is my first time. And so hearing him, and I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
yeah.
So thumbs up to that. Thanks for sharing that. What other album did he play on or sing on?
He's done some other stuff with Neil that I've heard
Oh,
him
okay.
before, like on some of his Joseph stuff, and like that kind of Jesus Christ the Exorcist. I think he was on those things.
Okay.
All right, Roy, what you got? Some prog for us?
Yeah, I guess. It's funny. I thought maybe because I always talk prog and you guys cover some other stuff, maybe I'll go maybe a bit more straightforward, but we'll keep it prog. Um, I decided to go with two albums that I'm just listening to the most right now, and they're not out yet. They're almost out. The first one is by a band called Vola from Denmark. And if you guys are familiar with them, I'm sure Pete you are. Um, just a really cool, modern, not a little bit genty prog metal band. They've streamlined their sound over the years. This is their fourth album. They were formed in 2006. They broke big with their last album in 2021, Witness, which had two of my favorite songs that they've still done, Straight Lines and 24 Light Years.
It's been 3 years already since then. I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
didn't that come out like a year or so
It's
ago?
one of my favorite albums of the last decade. But I like everything these guys have done. The singer Asger Mygend is his name. I'm gonna butcher these names, I'm sure, but he's got a really cool voice, really unique, kind of deep and weird. They're very melodic. They incorporate a lot of keyboards, a lot of sort of background electronica stuff. But the new album is 9 songs. It's called Friend of a Phantom. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the name here. Yeah, Friend of a Phantom. That's right. Comes out actually the next week. There you go. You got it. And they've released maybe 4 or 5 songs already from this one. The first track on the album, which maybe was the third single, is called Cannibal, and it features a singer from In Flames, Anders. And he brings this sort of the growly part to it. They don't normally do that stuff, but he provides that on this song. Really cool opening, heavy track. Then they go sort of weird, almost at times. And I don't want to say this to put people off, but there's a few moments of like the keyboard sound that like Linkin Park used to use that they kind of bring in a little bit. Break My Lying Tongue is awesome. We Will Not Disband is the third song, which is amazing. I'm obsessed with this record. I can't stop listening to it. I wish maybe they would have gone a little bit more proggy like they've done before. They've never really done crazy long songs or extra guitar solos. That's not their thing. But even on the first album, the title track In Mazes had like weird kind of Haken type signature things going on and stuff like that. So they've done that from time to time. This album maybe doesn't approach that as much. Here and there they hint at it. I think they tried to make an album to me, this album in the proper light and with major label backing, this is like their their Def Leppard Hysteria record. Like every song in here could be a hit single on radio. Every song fits. Every song is memorable. Every song is has a great chorus and a hook. They just went all out like that, and yeah, I love it. If you're a fan of like Leprous, Haken, Riverside, those type of bands, it's in that kind of world, but way more on the melodic side this time around. I think it's tremendous.
Cool. What's the street date on that?
I think the first thing comes out November 1st.
Next week.
Yeah, right around the corner.
Are there elements of new metal in it with you?
Yes, a little bit. You hear kind of in the drum and bass parts a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But they don't. It's not like Corn too much. It's not. It's just they bring elements of all of that. It's Leprous, Corn, Linkin Park, Haken. It's all that kind of thing mixed together.
All right. Well, a couple weeks ago, I reviewed the new Unto Others, which is pretty much like goth rock. And then another goth rock album came out, and I said, should I do two in a row? And then I thought, fuck it. It's October.
Yeah, trick or treat.
Right. It's almost
Happy
Halloween.
hunting.
Let's just keep it going. Let's keep the Halloween party going. So, this band, it's interesting how I found out about this band. I saw the album cover and I thought that looks cool. Knew nothing. Didn't even know the name of the band. I just saw the album cover and clicked on it, and then I started digging it. Who is this? Well, they are Cemetery Skyline.
Yeah, Ken Golden was saying good things about this.
Yes, it's fun.
Yeah.
Formed in 2020, but they were just dicking around for a few years. There's kind of a super group, Sweden and Finland, guys from both. What do they play? Goth rock you can shake your gothic booty to. Album is Nordic Gothic, released October 11th, 2024. Who's in the band, you say? Well, you might know some of these guys. Michael Stan from Dark Tranquility is in it.
Sure.
Marcus Van Halla from Insomnium. Insomnium has got some goth in them.
Oh, yeah.
They're like a gothic Opeth in a way. Santiri Kallio from Amorphis. Amorphis. It sends some ears perking up out there. But they don't really sound like Amorphis. Vesa Ranta from Sentence. I don't know Sentence. And Victor Brandt from Witchery, which is like a black metal thrashy band that's kind of cool. But this is not a metal album. There are metal elements here and there. Nice guitar tone. Nice guitar solos every once in a while. It's a rock album. Is it a hard rock album? Sometimes it is. The first half is super duper fun. Torn Away kicks off the album. You got a driving beat right away. The vocals are smooth. They go down nice and easy. They're gothic and gothy, but they're smooth. Now, this Michael guy, he does extreme vocals when he's in Dark Tranquility. None of that's here. It's just smooth vocals.
Yeah, he on the latest Dark Tranquility album, which I have here somewhere. He does probably more clean vocals on that album than I've heard him in a while. So he's actually a very good melodic singer.
Yeah. It's like the Opeth thing, They get old. They can't growl like they used to as often. In the Darkness comes in. Now that one starts off almost a little metal with a metallic riff, but it goes right into that gothic, fun, dancing thing. There's a youthful spirit on this album. Oh, is that the last Dark Tranquility?
Yeah, that's one that just came out a couple months ago.
Okay. But there is a youthful spirit on this album where if you didn't know any better, you think this was made by a bunch of guys in their early 30s or late 20s. Not how old these guys are. What are they, about 45 maybe, 48?
Yeah, probably mid late
50,
40s.
if not over 50. They got gray in their hair. There's no gray in the music though. Violent Storm keeps the party going, keeps everyone on the dance floor at the Halloween party. Even the most depressed goth chick will get her ass on the dance floor during these songs and shake that black ass or whatever she's wearing. Behind the Lie, great. Now the second half has got some bangers too. that you can shake your ass to, but it has this well done ballad, When Silence Speaks. It has this moody, less catchy song, The Coldest Heart, and then Alone Together at the end is this big 7.5 minute epic that first few times I listened to it, I thought, I wish this epic was a little bit more epic. And the more I listen to it, it's pretty fucking epic. It's pretty cool. So I would recommend this album. You play this and Unto Others back to back, you got like almost 2 hours worth of party music at your Halloween party. I know we're too old to have Halloween parties and nobody does that anymore, but let's just pretend. So the report card, rock and roll report card. I'm giving this production a big solid A because this sounds tremendous, especially that guitar tone. Now the songwriting, as much as I love these songs and they're so much fun, they're kind of following a goth blueprint set by other bands years ago. I want them to do that because it's fun to follow that blueprint and they follow it great, but they are kind of following a blueprint, so I gave it a B. But the songs are great. Musicianship, B. Not everything's an A, but B's very good. Vocals, B plus, because a lot of these gothic vocals, they start to sound alike, and he's kind of fitting that mold, but he does it well. Now, ability to add some fun to your Halloween party, A. Boom, right there. So
the most important part, right?
right. So hey, if you're one of those guys that likes to drink beer and hang out the trick or treats and maybe just, when nobody's knocking at the door, want to do something and like dance around your living room or something, put this in, stream it at least, give it a listen. So there you go.
I will say that, that lineup, that's a Scandinavian metal supergroup right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, all those bands are like, yeah.
It's on Century Media. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Pete, you're next.
All right. So next up, I've got an archival release that came out this year from a band that I had never heard of before. So, but you know me, I love 70s underground, prog, jazz, rock, fusion, all that kind of stuff. So the band, it's a Dutch band called Association PC. And the name of the album is In a Life Machine Live 1972. Double CD. Again, never heard of this band before. This is one of those situations where Ken Golden says to me, Pete, you would love this. I'm like, okay, cool. So yeah, we got all sorts of liner notes in here about this band and the show and all that kind of stuff. So this was recorded live in the Netherlands at like some kind of jazz workshop in May 17th, 1972. So 2 CDs, it's like 2 hours of music. There's a lot here. And you got, let's see, 5 tracks on one disc and 2 tracks on the second, one of which is 44 minutes long. So sound quality is really good. Really, really good. It's mostly like early 70s European jazz rock, okay, with a little touch of like Canterbury prog. So for those who like maybe Soft Machine, a little bit of like mid 70s gong, right? That kind of the jazzier gong. I get a little bit of like Matching Mole and some of those bands, but this is very like jammy, experimental stuff. At times, it's kind of noisy, like I said, kind of experimental, kind of jammy. I've never heard, they have 3 studio albums out. I've never heard any of the studio albums. This is all I've heard from the band. So I wonder how much this differs from what their studio stuff sounds like, or whether this was an excuse to just go and play at this live workshop and just stretch out. I don't really know. And then I went and looked at the tracks on here to see if they appeared on any of the studio albums, and they don't. So again, I don't know, were these just brand new compositions? Were these all improvisations and jams? I don't really know. But there's some good stuff on here. So you get 2 big epic pieces. One is called Only Grass in My Stomach, which is 23 minutes long. The other one on disc 2 is Soft Time in a Light Machine. That's just under 45 minutes long. To me, both of them are way too long, way too rambling. Drum solos, lots of keyboard solos. There's some guitar solos. The name of the guys in the band. So we've got Pierre Courbois on drums, Toto Blanky on guitars, Siggy Bush on bass, Jasper Van Toff on keyboards. He was a pretty notable keyboard player on the European jazz scene around this time. Gerd Dudek on saxophone. Henk Niardrop on percussion. I'm probably butchering these names. And Steve Boston on percussion. I like some of the shorter pieces. Like there's a song on here called, again, I don't know how to say this, Frau Tennyson's Kegel, something like that. That's pretty cool. Some nice guitar soloing. There's some nice interplay between the saxophone and the keyboards. The first track is called, the CD1 is listed as Erna Morena, and then it's got 5 tracks under it called Space Erna, Erna in India, Erna Audio Maxima, Only Grass in My Stomach, and Schnorr B or Schnorr 8. I don't know what any of the titles mean. I don't know. But I like some of the shorter pieces because they seem a little bit more composed. To me, after I finish listening to this, I like parts of it. But you know how we always talk about here on the channel when we talk about like classic live albums from the 70s, you get like those single albums that you're like, oh, that should have been a double, right? You know, like Foghat Live, Robin Trower Live, Pat Travers Go For What You Know, right? Killer live albums, but they're like 40 minutes and you're like, where's the rest of the show? This should have been a double album. This double album should have been a single album. There's parts here I like, but I think at 2 hours, I think if this was edited down to like an hour of the best stuff, this would be really, really good. As it is, I think something like this is not for the faint of heart. And unless you like really experimental, jammy jazz rock, and lots of it, this may scare you off after like 40 minutes of it. So I can enjoy lots of parts of this, but as a whole, it's way too much. It's a little bit of a slog. So some good stuff on here. I would urge anybody, if you're interested in this band, if you like the Canterbury scene and some of like the Eastern European early 70s jazz rock, you definitely want to hear this, but maybe go check out their studio albums first. Again, I don't know. I haven't heard them. I don't know if that's the better place to start, but there is good stuff on here, but just be prepared. There's a lot going on here. So yeah, I would give this 3 out of 5.
Did you say that was one single show?
Yes.
Those poor people.
Yeah, May 17th, 1972, all one show. Played at, I'll tell you where it was played at. I can barely pronounce it. Recorded live at, oh, Jesus. Ruffensfeld, Vestal, Halle, Reckenklausen, something like that. I don't know. I apologize if I totally ruined that, whatever it is. But yeah. Yeah, all one show. Is that some kind of like live workshop in front of a live audience? So,
Nice.
like I said, there's good stuff on it. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in all in one sitting.
So Ken said you would love it. You don't love it.
I said I would love it. This is great. I'm like, okay, cool. I really like parts of it. It's too long. It literally, you can cut it in half, and I think that would suffice. It's just because the endless drum solos and keyboard. So it's just it's a 44-minute track and a 23-minute track on the same live album. It's a little too much for me.
Every live album from the 70s can be killed by a drum solo that's just too long.
Well, that's what they did back then, I know, right? Especially when you're talking like jazzier stuff, right?
You're there, just one thing on record. I don't need it. Rick.
So the next one again goes back into the idea of music. No one plays music like this anymore. Well, that's not true. This is from Canada, and this band is actually from Ottawa, Ontario. That's like our parliamentary system in our city, like your Washington, D.C., to make all the decisions of the world in the U.S. Well, for us, that's the home plate for Canada decision making. And you don't hear a lot of bands come from Ottawa. I'm not saying there isn't, but for me, this really stands out to understand that this city has a band called Fast Train Union. And apparently this is their third record, and the last album's like 2012 or something, so it's been some time. But I gotta tell you, the moment I put it on, first of all, the album's called Analog, and it does sound like that, Analog Outliers. And the reason why I want to point that out, because they were faithful, sounding like before digital came into the world. I mean, I think some of the great bands that me and Pete like, and you probably do too, guys, I just know Pete Collection a little bit better, but we love bands in the late 70s and the early 80s where bands that had, they're not well known today, but that's some great stuff like Shooting Star, right? Hang On to Your Life, or, just a sound period of that period that I picture when I was listening to this record. soon as I put on the first song called Darkness, I pictured myself, 11, 12-year-old, going into an arcade room where the DJ cranking this tune because it sounds like that era. It sounds just like that guitar about that time and all the vocals. Everybody was singing in that way. In fact, the first song kind of reminds me of Scorpion, Blackout, and Darken a little bit, but the vocals like Shooting Star or other vocalists of that time, because it's definitely album oriented arena rock. You know what I mean? It has that whole thing about being melodic, but has guitar is in your face, and it's really great. And they push a full 70 minutes. So the real album vinyl is roughly, I believe, from my understanding, they added like 4 extra songs, so it would be 11 songs maybe, 14 here. And so they added, sorry, and let me see, what do we got? Yeah, so they added extra songs, and those songs sound like 88, 89 hard rock guitar. Did a little more, same 80s melodic stuff of the early 80s vocals, Toto and that kind of stuff, but the guitar is a little more heavy like Tesla, like Slaughter of that era, even GNR, because they're adding a little bit of metallic into the hard rock. But for the most part, I'm serious. I feel like I went in a time machine and I went into the blast of the past. It reminded me all those great music that I liked back in that era. And they brag about the fact that they use no auto-tune. So it does sound so analog, if you really want to know the truth. I don't know if that's the whole case, but they didn't do auto-tune, so try to be as faithful as they can. But let me tell you, almost every song is worth mentioning. I won't do that for saving time, but I got to hand out some real good ones. Darkness, right off the bat, if you played that, it sums up the whole experience I'm talking about, where you picture video games on the left, jukebox on the right, all these guys with leather jackets, Levi wearing, long hair, the whole 9 yards, where we were like when we were kids at that time. I'm telling you, it felt like that era, because it felt like if you want to listen to the radio of that time period, it would throw Creatures of the Night, Kiss on the same point they played, the Jew from Scorpion, the same playlist they would play, Santana, All I Wanted, all these kind of songs that felt like that whole vein. Fordner, all these bands would easily fit back to back with these songs in the playlist because it felt like that time. Just a little more aggressive of that 80s, late 80s rock in there. Vocally is great. The band is really, really impressive. And so it went by really fast. But I got to say, the extra songs they had in here called Union Stand, Closer to the Edge, those songs are very heavy and a little more potent. It was cool how they did it near the end. Honestly, if you took those songs out, it could be a 4.5, maybe a 5.5 album. You add more things, you make it longer, you can make it more saturated. I say it still breaks out even. I still give it a 4 point, maybe 4.5 or 4, but either way, it's a really good listen album. And what I like is some of these songs really stood out vocally. For me as a singer, I really impressed with what they did with the harmonies. The World is Burning, Outliers, No Illusion, The Moment. I mean, I can basically mention every song. There's something in it, and they don't repeat themselves. So anyway, for a Canadian band that doing something like this of a blast in the past, maybe it took them 12 years to make this great album for a reason. Hope it doesn't take that long for the next one. But I gotta say, they're on my radar. I'm gonna pay attention to this band going forward. Fast Train Union.
They will be very happy. They'll be very happy with that review. They have they keep in contact with me pretty often. So we have
are they old
review
guys,
on the
young
website.
guys?
What's that?
How old are those guys?
I don't know, but like I said, the first album was, I think, in 2006 and then 2012, and then in 2024. So that didn't get, they're not young anymore. You got some time underneath your belt.
Our age or thereabouts, I think, yeah.
I don't know, to be honest.
Nestor? Are they like that?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they think, like some of the cool hard rock of April Wine, they remind me of that stuff.
They're not quite as commercial sounding as Nestor, Jamie.
Okay.
Yeah. It got that. It had that commercial appeal. They have hooks all the way through, but they still got where it's still cool for the guy to listen to it, and it's not like a power ballad album. It's
Yeah, it's
just
a little
avoid
grittier, I
all
think.
that, but it's
So,
still rocking.
little George Lynch sprinkled in.
Yeah,
Maybe. That's what I'm hearing. All right.
yeah. But it's good listen, and I'm glad I got it.
Cool.
Roy.
Check it out. Jamie, you may want to pull this one up too, the album cover, like you did before. I'm going to go with another album that just came out a couple of weeks ago. A similar, Rick, to Emerald City Council, a little bit like you brought up. I'm going to talk about an album by Joe Denizen and Stratosferious, Imposter, which came out about a couple of weeks ago. For those people that don't know, Joe is now the violinist for Kansas. He took over.
What's his band name?
Sorry?
What's the band name?
Stratosferious. And he's just a tremendous musician. He plays every instrument.
Hold on, don't bother, Jamie. I got it.
Okay.
Oh, you got it? Oh, great. And
Very talented.
he's super talented. He's played with everybody. I even in interviewing him recently found out he played with Springsteen at a show before. So he's just a really good musician. He writes the stuff on here, a lot of it, and he sings lead on a bunch of tracks. What's really cool about this album is that they've been making this album over about 6-7 years, and just adding new songs over every 6 months as they got around to it. The band is made up of Joe and drummer Jason Gianni, who some people may know played with Neil Morse band for a brief period. Bill Hubauer from NMB is in the band on this album as well. And then there's a guitar player, Michelangelo, and bassist Bill Paul Ranieri. And the guitarist is Michelangelo Quirinali. Sorry, it's a tough name to say. It's a pretty lengthy album, 9 songs. There's a lot of special guests on here. Randy McStein plays on a few songs, and he sings lead on a song called Cognitive Dissonance, and you can hear it right away that it's him. Storm Surge is another really cool song that features a bunch of guests. Michael Sadler sings lead on this, and he just sounds awesome on it. Rachel Flowers plays piano. Rudy Selly is playing the cello, and Fernando Perdomo is on this one as well. It's a bunch of like Dave Kersner connection people there. They do a really cool cover of Frame by Frame, which with the main kind of guitar part he's doing on the violin, and it sounds almost better that way, to be honest. It's really, really good. It's a really cool version. Did it need to be done? Maybe not, but it's fine. It sounds great. It's a fun version to listen to. And then there's of course an epic, a 12-minute song called Chasing the Dragon at the end. So it's a fun record. It's surprising. You would almost think going into it, it might be, I don't know, kind of a cheesier version of Kansas or something like that. But once you start getting into it, it's straight on awesome, and proggy is all hell, and he can sing great. Oh, there I should mention there's a video for one of those songs called Outrage Olympics, which came out maybe about a month ago. Kind of a fun, quirky video about the effects of cancel culture, and railing against that. So they try to get sort of not political, but they take on some topics on all the songs lyrically, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, so this is a good one. It surprised me how much I've enjoyed this one. It's really, really good, and just talented guys throughout this whole thing. You've listened to it then, I'm guessing, right?
No, I just got it. I haven't even taken it out of the wrap yet.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Now, do you have any sense for, is he going to keep this band going, because he's going to be busy in Kansas? I mean, Kansas.
Yeah, it is as time allows type of thing. So they perform once in a while. Each of the guys is playing with other things, living in other states, So yeah, I think they're doing a show coming up in December that they're trying to that they just announced. But yeah, I don't know. It took them forever to finish this one, so I don't know how soon that'll be. But and of course he's playing with Kansas, all the freaking time. So
all the time, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
All righty. Well, I'm going to talk about something that just came out a week ago. And it's been an interesting year for music for me. Well, we're going to talk about a guy who used to be in a band who was the main songwriter, the lead guitarist. He sang, but he wasn't known as the lead vocalist. You would think, oh, you're going to talk about Pete Townsend? No, I'm going to talk about Jerry Cantrell. He's kind of the Pete Townsend of the 90s in a way. Born March 18th, 1966, from Washington, USA. He was around. He born in that city, went to that city, went to Seattle. So we'll just call it Washington. What does he play? Don't call it grunge. Grunge. But I know how a lot of people are out there like, I don't like grunge, but I like Alice in Chains, and they're not grunge. They're grunge. Also, do me depressing hard rock. The album I Want Blood released October 18th, 2024. And it's been an interesting year on the review crew and in music in general for me, because it's 2024, but we've reviewed on the review crew. We've been on since January. Wow. The Black Crowes. Rick, you did that. Fish, Green Day, Smashing Pumpkins, Pearl Jam, and now I'm going to be talking about Jerry Cantrell. I'm like, is this 2024?
Grunge revival.
Or is this 1994?
Yeah, right.
Because this year is making me want to blow the dust off my flannel, put on my flannel, and maybe grab a nice cold Bud Ice. Oh, you go down the street and rent me a Blockbuster. Or maybe not watch Blockbuster and just put on a little Beavis and Butthead.
There you go.
Nailed it. You nailed 1995.
So
right
if you
on.
ever want to know what Laszlo looked like in the night, wait a minute. Hold on.
Where's the mullet? Where's the mullet?
Something else I had.
Yeah, where's the hair?
I had hair.
There we go.
I'm going to do it.
There you go.
That's
Nice.
Look at that. I
All
look
right.
good, don't I?
Wow.
Eat your heart out.
I want you to bring that in December when I see you.
Here I am coming home from work. What are we doing tonight? You want to watch this? I got some Bud Ice. You want to watch some Beavis? So there you go. So what do we get on this album? Well, I think you get a really good Alice in Chains album, basically. His last album, Brighton, it was all right. His albums before that came out years before that, they're all right. But this one is really hitting the spot with me. It's got the song, he always had decent songs. These are decent songs, but they got that extra little Alice in Chains spice in them. Vilified comes on, and it reminds me of how Them Bones opened up Dirt. Woo, with that and then Off the Rails continues with that Alice in Chains sound. I will say this sounds so much like Alice in Chains that I start to miss Lane Staley, that harmonizing in, and sometimes I expect to hear him sometimes, but I can't complain too much. There's nothing he can do about that, so that's not a fair complaint. But then there's songs that can fit on like Jar of Flies, like Afterglow. Boom, put that on Jar of Flies, and it wouldn't seem out of place. Now, I Want Blood, the title track, maybe the least Alice in Chains sounding song on it. It's a little bit straightforward rock, but if you know the song Fear the Voices from Alice in Chains, which was a song left off of Dirt, then later put on like a comp album called Music Box, it got played on the radio like in 99. It's more like that, straight ahead rock, but it's still got that a little bit of Alice. You're not going to get too much away from Alice in Chains when Jerry Cantrell was playing. Echoes of Laughter, you might call it the dad rock version of Down in a Hole, but I really dig it a lot. And as time goes on, Down in the Hole is just becoming dad rock on itself. Hate to tell you. Throw Me a Line. I like all these songs. I like this album, and I like the fact that I like this album. It feels good to like this album. Throw Me a Line, the chorus is right out of the Alice in Chains playbook, man. This is like the Kinks' Give the People What They Want. This is his Give the People What They Want album. And that's what you get on all 9 songs. And the last song, It Comes, beautiful. just a beautiful Alice in Chains type song. It makes me think, did he write these songs in 1993 or 94 and then finally recorded them? I don't know, but that's what it sounds like, and that's a good thing. So on the rock and roll report card on this one, I'm not used to having hair. Production, an A. Yeah, it sounds good. Songwriting, A minus. Look, this is an A plus all the way down. It's not dirt, but it's good, really good. Musicianship, B plus. I don't want them to get crazy on the instruments. I want it to be a B plus. Vocals, B. Jerry's Jerry. I want him to sound like Jerry. Do Miss Lane. So solid B. Ability to fill that Alice in Chains gap in your life. A fucking plus. A fucking. So yeah, if you're an Alice in Chains fan, maybe you're like, his solo stuff is in, and then you lost, track of his albums and lost touch with them. Come back on this one. I think you'll like it if you're an Alice in Chains fan and they are grunge. So, case of the singles. I got 3 out there. Gratitude by Devin Townsend. Have you heard that, Pete? Guys?
Not yet.
I did.
Great song, really, really catchy.
It's really catchy.
Yeah.
He puts a lot into his music. It's a little too perfect for me, but I get it. It's not a bad song. Stratosferious, kind of like a black metal shoegazy band. Sometimes they do some mellow music. Their new song, they're from Iceland, and they sing in their Icelandic language. In the Helga Vol, I don't know. It's pretty heavy though, and they do some, the vocals are kind of extreme. And remember Rick Springfield? He's got a new song out called "Lose Myself," and it's terrible. I wouldn't recommend that. It sounds like a indie rock song from 2002. So way to go, Rick. You're only 23 years off with trying to get a hit. Find yourself a time machine.
He's like 75 and still looks like he's 45. Good for him.
I've heard he's kicks ass live though. That's what I heard. So I don't know.
He's friends with Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo, so I can't rip on him. Neil Giraldo did play the guitar riff on Jesse's Girl, so there's a little. So yeah, and if Pat's watching, I hope she's watching this one if she ever watched me on YouTube. Because
you got hair.
So, real quick, let's get physical. My physical media page on Facebook. Come on over. It's for love of everything. Physical media, 8-tracks, magazines, and albums and CDs and whatnot.
So you did mention Dream Theater got a single out yet. Night Terror. You got it, the shirt.
Oh, yes.
That is a good album, good song. Just give everybody a sneak preview of what to come. And I've got to say the video is great too. So check that out, people, if you haven't.
I was at the first show in London.
Oh, you went?
Oh, were you? Oh, wow, that's historic. I envy you.
A bunch of our crew ended up going.
Nice.
And, it was amazing. It was just awesome. So,
great set list, pal. I enjoyed seeing what they did.
Rick and I have to wait till March. So
yeah.
Are you going to the Radio City one?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. It's great. They sound great. It was just a hell of a great time. So
probably a very emotional night, eh, buddy?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I can imagine.
I mean, they played at the O2 Arena, which if that's like a big arena there, 20,000. They didn't completely sell it out, but it was pretty darn close, and it was the most Dream Theater fans I've ever seen in one place. So
I would think the Radio City show, if it's not sold out already, it will be sold.
I'm sure that.
I think every time they play there,
hometown show, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I will say, to go back to the Jerry Cantrell. So my copy hasn't come in yet. I ordered it. It should be here any day now. But I went and listened to it. It sounds so much like an Alice in Chains album. I wonder why they didn't just do another Alice in Chains album, because we haven't gotten a new Alice in Chains album in how many years now?
I like it better than the last the post Lane Staley, Alice in Chains albums. I like this.
Because I like all of them. I think they're all really good. Again, I only heard it the one time, so I don't have a lot of
I've
time.
never really loved his solo records, so I'm into checking
Yeah,
this one
I
out.
never bothered with it because
too.
everything I've heard, I've been like, it's just kind of,
Yeah, it's just always been kind of like okay, but yeah,
yeah,
if you say this one's pretty good, I
this is
will check
good.
it
Yeah,
out.
it's really
Yeah,
good.
and you know, that's so encouraging because the whole point I was mentioning about this is that a lot of the music of that time period, I've kind of burned it out. I've listened to it so much, so it's brand new to me. And hear that time period, so him to go back in the 90s and hear an album that sounds like that product, but you never heard those songs before, so you didn't burn out on them, you didn't overplay it. It gets something to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right on.
Very
Well,
cool.
anyone got anything they want to plug? Rick, you got a new single out there.
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, I want to thank you, Jamie and Pete. You guys did a plug-in for me and your respected episode or shows, and got a lot of traction on my song, the video, and it got played in Hamilton by Cody Broadbent. Boy, he played on internet radio, and Toronto. Toronto played on the local radio station. So it's only a couple weeks old, but I'm pretty proud of the response I get. And thanks to all the viewers out there that have been adding it to their playlist. They let me know that by taking a photo shot of where it's playing or their dashboard or whatever. That meant a lot. I'm never forget how many people that pull strings here that help make that song get a little farther, and I appreciate that very much. So Rick Labonte, Born Ready, featuring Derek Sheridan on keys, and my band of brothers, which we plan on coming to New York on December 7th to play, and I'm looking forward to it.
Hear it live then, I'm sure. Roy,
Very nice.
you got anything coming?
Yeah, just all the normal stuff on the Park Report, our website, reviews, and daily news and all that stuff. We're doing a lot of Dream Theater coverage over the last few days. We have a video recap and a review of the show and stuff. So if you want to find out more about the show, you can go to our YouTube channel and check it out. And more stuff all the time.
Right on.
Pete, what are you ranking tomorrow?
For Sunday, Grant, Arthur, and I are ranking the Yardbirds catalog. So the 6 U.S. releases. So we're doing the U.S. releases. That's coming up on. Oh yeah, that's tomorrow. We're taping on Friday. Sorry. Duh. Yeah, it is tomorrow, actually. Yeah, so that's happening tomorrow. And also we're doing our next episode of our What Is It series. So we've got Brendan Snyder, Grant Arthur, and Scott Lade and I talking about the band Alan Parsons Project. What the hell
Love
are
that.
they? So yeah, so we're a whole episode on Alan Parsons Projects that's coming up tomorrow.
That's awesome. I have every single thing. They have live DVDs, all of it.
Yeah,
Really?
good band.
Everything.
Very unique chameleon-like band, It's like,
Yes.
yeah.
Tell you who you need to do on that show. What is it? Faith No More. And what is it?
Yeah, true. That's right.
Band too for that, and they got it right in their lyrics.
That's right. Yeah, Faith No More. It defy every kind of classification known to man.
Big
So,
time.
sure.
Great band.
Let me wrap this up because I got to go meet the boys outside. We're going to go skateboarding.
All right.
Don't hurt yourself, Jamie. Remember, you got to do another episode in 2 weeks. So.
Just hit me up on my paper. They're waiting for me. They're spelling out. With numbers. They're swearing at me. They said "fuck" with an upside down. No. Anyway, check us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together. All the damn
time. Now I get to say it second, right?
Like button. We got a Ko-fi thing to give some money, and we got the membership thing. So if you want to join us at $2.99 a month, you can help pay for my props. And we got the Cameo page where you give Pete some money and he'll send you a video and you guys can bitch about how bad the music was in the 90s. All that rock music of the 90s. 311, what was worse? 311 or Sublime? I don't know, man. I think they're equally bad. Yeah, you guys. So until the next show when we have a different crew and different reviews, I'm Jamie Laszlo, and for Pete and Rick and Roy, we're out.
Take care, everyone.
Hey,
Bye,
guys.
guys.